Hey, what's good? Hey, listen, let me ask you a question. What do you do when challenges show up in your life, when problems show up, when situations and circumstances show up that you didn't expect to throw you off of your game? Do you retreat? Do you feel guilty? Do you feel bad? Do you blame others? Do you blame yourself? Do you respond or do you react? Because there's a difference. Well, listen, the answer might just surprise you, but I'm going to show you 5 things to do. I'm going to give you a process, 5 things to do that are not only going to mitigate how you feel and help you feel better. And by the way, this isn't just positive thinking so that you feel good through problems and things like that, but they're also going to help you get to the solutions much, much quicker and help you anticipate challenges coming up so that when they do, you already know what to do about it. And the problems start to show up less and less. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's the truth. So you might want to grab a pad and paper because this is going to be fire. And it's going to be something that you're going to use for the rest of your life. And you'll condition yourself to be better and better at it. So let's get started. So check this out. So whenever we're going after anything, whenever you're trying to learn something or grow into something and everything, it's really, really important to find out what you're dealing with. To find out what it is, why it is, how it affects you, and what we're going to do about it. If I was to say to you, give me $20, you're going to go, why? Why me? What's it for? What are you going to do with it? You're going to ask all of those questions. And the clearer you get about it, that will make your decision on whether you're going to give me $20 or not. Well, it's the same thing for problem solving, if you will, or learning something. And so, although there's going to be a lot of different definitions and explanations for challenges and problems, I'm just going to give you what mine is so that we can be on the same page. And if it works for you, that's great. And if you can use it to change the quality of your life, that's even better. So challenges to me are necessary. Number one, they are the situations. They're just stress release. They are problems and solution. That's what it's all about. They are necessary for the growth of human being. They're part of life. Now, I know that sounds like unicorns and crystals and rainbows and positive thinking and everything, but if you think about it, everything in life grows because of challenge, stress release. Think about it. The fact that you're even on this planet, that you're a human being, is a result of stress release, is a result of a buildup and a release. Your mom and your dad, yeah? But then think about this. That little sperm cell and that little egg that had to make its way all the way down to secure itself inside your mama, and that little sperm cell that had to swim and fight all the way. Those were problems. And then we didn't just stop there. As soon as there was that zygote, as soon as you got the egg got fertilized, guess what happened? There was pressure. There was pressure, because you've seen it. Just go on YouTube and look it up. You've seen when an egg starts to grow. What does it happen? It's pressure, and all of a sudden, boom, and then it's two cells, and then boom, it's 4 cells, and then it's 8 cells, and it grows geometrically. There's always stress release. You know, I saw something a while ago that was pretty fascinating. I love the Discovery Channel, and I was watching that kind of exemplifies this. So just a little metaphor, but it's the truth. And they were talking about the same thing, you know, that everything grows with pressure. And they were showing lobsters, and lobsters and crabs. And what happens is the lobster, you know, it grows, it has a hard shell. And it grows inside there, and it's under so much stress and so much pressure that it can't move. And finally, it paralyzes because there's so much stress inside there. And all of a sudden, the shell cracks, and it peels itself out. And then guess what? That's how the lobster grows. I know that sounds silly, but that's the same thing. So when problems happen in your life, I want you to think, what is it? Oh, this is an opportunity for me to grow. This is necessary for me to grow. And the quicker I get past it, the quicker I will grow, and the quicker I will process. So I want to give you 5 steps, 5 things that you can use, and you go through these steps, and guess what? A couple things happen. Number one, as you're going through them in the moment, you feel better, and you become more optimistic. But the best part about this is that I call it, you maybe heard me talk about it before, and that is human physics. Human physics is just basically, the more we do something, the better we get at it. And so wouldn't it be great for you to be great at and get better and better at problem solving? The answer is obviously yes. So here's the steps. You want to write this down. It's an acronym. I say CLEAR. You want to get clear. C-L-E-A-R. The C stands for chill. Yeah, chill out. I know this sounds maybe counterintuitive, but remember, this is a process that as the process, one leads to the other, and we get better and better at it. And that's usually the last thing that we want to do when something shows up. You know, a problem shows up, you know, you got to pay a bill or somebody's in your face or so whatever, you know, that you got to deal with something in that moment. The last thing we usually think about is that we want to chill. But I'm telling you, you do not get answers while you're stressed out. Think about this. Have you ever done something like this? Have you ever gone, you couldn't remember somebody's name. You go, what's her name? What's her name? Gosh, I can't remember what her name is. Why can't I remember her name? And you got one of these going on inside on your face and you're trying to figure it out. And then you stop and you just go, oh, forget it, I'll come about later. And then, 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, you go, Barbara, and it comes to you. It's because you got out of stress. Whenever we go like this, and by the way, I'm a psychologist, so everything that I talk about, there's a reason and a purpose, and there is science behind all of this. So I'm not just telling you, chill out just because it feels good. I'm saying that because this, as soon as you go like this, as soon as you get stressed, as soon as you allow yourself to feel bad, your brain releases something called cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone that goes through your body, makes your adrenaline, spikes your adrenaline, makes your heart pump faster. You get stressed. And when you get stressed, you go into something called your sympathetic nervous system. What is that? That's fight or flight. Fight or flight is pessimistic. And what that means, you got two choices. Get the hell out of there or fight. Live or die. That's the same kind of chemicals that are going on inside of us. And when our brain is like that, it's just like, I can't remember her name. We're not going to get the solution. Your brain is looking for a way out. Your brain starts to look for ways out to go. And sometimes it's excuses. It's just like, why does this always happen to me? Or it's somebody else's fault or whatever. And then we spend our time on that and not on the problem. And so the thing to do is to chill. And when I say chill, that's what the C stands for in clear. You just stop and you take a deep breath and step back for a second and chill out. Why? Because as soon as you stop and raise those eyebrows up and you go, okay, wait a minute, this is what this means. Here I am. And you get in the habit of doing that. Because remember, human mechanics, human physics, that when we do it over and over again, we get better and better at it. As soon as you go like this, then guess what? Your brain releases another kind of chemical, another hormone, and that's dopamine. And dopamine is the, let's just say, pleasure or euphoric hormone. And the brain goes, that feels good. What just happened? Let's do it again. And so what just happened was, problem showed up and you chilled and you went, wait a minute, let me step back for a second, okay, and figure this out. And by the way, that's the difference between reacting and responding. Remember earlier I said, do you react or do you respond? A reaction is without thought. A knee-jerk reaction, you go to the doctor hits you in the knee with that rubber hammer and your leg flies up like that. That's reaction. You don't have to think about that, okay? But a response, there's a little bit of thought in between about what we do. So you want to respond. And so you respond better when you chill. That dopamine goes to your brain, and you're going to find very, very quickly that oftentimes what we do is we make things bigger than they already are. I'll talk about that here in a second. But oftentimes you're going to realize that the answer is right in front of you sometimes. We've all done that before, haven't you? Haven't you gone, okay, what is this? Oh, there it is right there. Oh, that's what it is. And when it does finally show up, we feel kind of silly because it just did. So the first step is what? Is to chill out. And I say calm, you can say chill or calm. Chill the freak out. And what I mean by that is the freak that's going on inside your mind. Because isn't that the truth? On some level, aren't you freaking out? Aren't you going, that brain is going on, what is this? Why is it me? Why all this stuff and everything? What am I going to do? Oh no, this. And we're being pessimistic. Now, pessimistic, like I said, is fight or flight. You want to be optimistic. Optimistic means you have more options. You can see more options, which is the next thing, which is L. Look. Chill, and once you've chilled, take some breaths or whatever, and then look. Look around. I mean, physically look around. What's going on? What's going on with you? Look at the situation. Look at what's really going on. Because too many times in our lives, I don't know about you, but it's been with me in the past, that I've overlooked some things just not by not really kind of taking a look at what's really going on around. And be observant and look around. Because what happens, you start to see other options. You start to see other ways that you can go. I know you've done that before. Haven't you been kind of myopic about something? You're going, well, it's this, and this. And then somebody comes along and goes, well, why don't you just do this? Because they're not in the state that you're in. They're chilled and you're not. And so when you start to look around and you start to observe everything that's going on around, what happens in the brain, remember, there's dopamine release. This is one after another. There's dopamine release. The eyebrows go up. The brain goes, okay, let me look around. Let me see. Because you can find oftentimes there's solutions right there. And again, because there's dopamine release, the brain is constantly looking for ways to feel good, to move away from the pain and look towards the pleasure. The more you do it, human physics, you get better and better at it. So the brain goes, what just happened? Oh, I started looking around, I started observing things. So guess what? It's going to do it more often. It's going to be more automatic with you. Again, it's something that I call neuro-encoding. You're encoding your nervous system to react and respond a certain way. And so when that happens, after you've looked around, you start to go there, you go to the next step, which is evaluate. That's what the E stands for, C-L-E. Chill, look, evaluate. Evaluate means to evaluate the situation and go, what is really going on here? Now you get to have that conversation in a more calm state. And so this is the real deal. That's what this is. The real deal is, yeah, I got to come up with $20. The real deal is I got a flat tire. The real deal is that, I've got to figure this out. I've got to do this. And you start to think about, here's what the real deal is. And oftentimes you're going to find out that you mitigate the emotion that was behind it. The anger, the frustration, the stress, the sadness, the guilt, all of those things, they start to mitigate. They start to get smaller when you start to go, oh, that's what this really is. That's all this is I got to make a phone call. I'm just getting nervous about it, okay? And so when you start to do that, then your brain starts to go, okay, that's all this is. And it starts to make the problem smaller, which, by the way, just like with the lobster that I was saying, it's going to happen anyway. So does the lobster sit there and go, I'm dying, it's never going to happen? The lobster just goes, I'm chilled, okay, let me do that, boom, and then it just happens. It's the same with you. And so when you start to evaluate what the situation really is, then you also start to evaluate what would I do? More specifically, what would I have done had if I was somebody else that has already done this, or what have I done in the past? This is optimism. Your brain is looking for different things. And the saying is in the Bible and it's in every religion and every philosophy that as you seek, so shall ye find. My belief is as ye seek, so shall it find you. It's going to find its way into your brain. Because oftentimes what we do is, I know I've done this too many times, that I've done the same thing over and over again. Think about this. Have you ever done the same stupid thing once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times? You go, why did I do that again? I knew better. Well, the reason is because you didn't chill, because you didn't look around, because you didn't evaluate. Now remember, you're conditioning yourself as you do this. And so what happens is the brain goes, oh, this is like that. This is the same as this. I can do this, I should do this, or Bob did this, or I remember reading this, I remember that. And your brain starts to open up because the searching process, you've heard me say this before, is the rewiring process. The remembering process is the remember. To dismember means to take apart, to remember means to put it back together, is the remembering part. So the brain is actually, you're conditioning your brain to do it quicker, easier, faster. And you start to find solutions much, much quicker. Now the A, C-L-E-A, A stands for act. You got to do something. Now, you might not be able to do exactly everything that you need to do in that moment, but you got to do something. You've got to move your body, stand up, shake your body out, do whatever. Move in that moment, act, take some sort of action in that moment. Now remember, action is doing something once or twice or 10 times. Activity means doing it over and over until the problem is solved, till you get it done. Okay, so when you do, then what happens is this, is because remember, because most of the time, here's what happens with people. When a challenge shows up, they freeze in the moment. It's a deer in the headlight kind of thing, isn't it? We freeze in the moment, go, what am I going to do? That kind of thing. Instead of going, okay, wait a minute, let me chill for a second, okay? Take a deep breath, okay? Let me look around, what's going on, what's really going on here, what's going on with me, okay? I need to chill out, that kind of thing, okay? Let me evaluate, okay, what is this? What's the real chill? What's really going on here? What can I do? Would I do? Now, do something. And even if it means get up off your ass and walk across the room and shake yourself out, move your body. Why? Because that adrenaline and because the dopamine and that stuff going, it needs a place to go. Get it going out throughout your whole body. You start to have your conversations with yourself. You start to think other things. Remember, you start to have more options. And one of the options is to move, is to get out of the way, is to do something. Go get a glass of water. Go jump up and down on a little trampoline or go do something. Do not stay in that moment. The lobster, when the shell cracks open, it doesn't just go, okay, my shell is cracked. It moves. It gets up and pulls itself out and it goes about its day. As a matter of fact, if it doesn't, it's going to sit there and something's going to come along and eat it. So you got to move, act. And this last thing, R, is something that all achievers, and I'm not going to say some, I'm going to say all achievers go through this at least once in their life. I know I did. And most of us, I call it the achiever's fatal flaw. And that is that we're so hard on ourselves. We beat ourselves up. We don't reward ourselves. And that's what the R stands for, reward. Praise yourself. Why? Because you chilled, because you looked around, because you evaluated, because you took some action. As soon as you pat yourself on the back or shake your ass or put a smile on your face and go, that was me, I'm a badass, and you do something and you give yourself some sort of reward, squeeze your fist and say yes, a smile on your face, more dopamine release. And remember, the brain is always going to go, what just happened here? And the brain is smart. Your brain is smart. Everybody's brain is smart. It's going to go, well, what happened is we just went through this process and now we feel good. Now we got praised for it. You've heard me say this before. The baby for the first time in its life turns on and goes to the parents and goes, Ma. The parents don't go, the word is mother, you little jerk. The parents praise the baby. The parents go, even though they didn't get it right, they go, good baby. And the baby releases dopamine. And then the baby goes, let's do it again. And that's why babies walk and talk and do all of those things. Real simple, real silly explanation and metaphor, but it's the truth. And so when you do that to yourself, because most of the time we don't, we just walk away from it and go, oh, that was close or whatever, or we go, I should have done it quicker, I should have done it faster. That's the achiever's fatal flaw. Knock that crap off. Knock it off as quickly as possible, bury that stuff, and develop a new habit of every time you come on the other side of it, then guess what? You pat yourself on the back. You do something. Even if it's just a smile on your face, your brain releases more of that dopamine, and you start the process. So I hope you get it now, that what's happening is every time this happens, and every time you reward yourself, you're going to do it more and more, and this becomes your default. And I'll give you a perfect example. And this is a result of some of the other things that I'm going to teach you as well. About 5 years ago, in a house that I had in Newport Beach, California, I get a phone call at 5:30 in the morning. 5:30 in the morning, I was in Florida. I was doing an event in Florida. And it was from my alarm company. And they said, Mr. McClendon, your alarm has gone off. Are you home? And I go, no. And they go, okay, we're going to send the police out there, the sheriff out there to check it out. Now, I live in a gated community with a guard there 24 hours. And from my house, I could throw a rock to the gate. It's 24 hours. And when I leave, I put everything that I value in a safe that is as tall as I am. It weighs 600 pounds. Took 3 men to put this thing in that's bolted to the marble floor in my closet. And so I don't worry about it. I put all my family photos. I put any cash I have, my watch collection, and I collect expensive and rare bass guitars. That's me, okay? And I put everything in there, so I don't worry about it. And I figure if somebody breaks in, they're going to take all the other stuff, but the insurance will pay for that kind of stuff. So I go, okay, no, I'm not home. And I've also had false alarms several times. So I go back to sleep. I'm chilled, okay? Automatically. 15 minutes later, I wake up because there's another phone call, and now it's from the sheriff's department. And the sheriff says, Mr. McClendon, we're outside your house. It appears that somebody has broken into your home. Can we go inside? We have the place surrounded. We got the dogs. Can we go in? And I go, well, yeah. And by the way, I'm still pretty chilled, but now I'm thinking to myself, because I'm going through the process. I chill out and I look around and I go, okay, well, it's 5:30 in the morning, and blah, 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 and all this stuff and everything. And I go, now, here's the truth. The truth of the matter is there's somebody that's broken into my house. But the sheriff is there and, they'll handle it. And then I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, the worst that's going to happen is they'll take the TVs or they'll take some of the stuff and everything. But the truth is that's just stuff and I can replace it. And I got a 600-pound safe with everything I know inside there. They can't take that. I don't go back to sleep, but I'm still pretty chill. Matter of fact, I was more concerned about what I'm going to do and, calling the insurance company and all that stuff. I didn't go back to sleep. 15 minutes later, I get a phone call. And this time it's from the sheriff again. And the sheriff says, Mr. McClendon, did you have a safe? Now, as soon as he said that, it was like somebody punched me in the stomach and in the nose at the same time. It was devastating to me because everything that I really valued, family photos, recordings of my mother who passed several years ago that were in there that I'll never hear again. All the stuff that's in there, the cash, I loved watches and my bases, one of them I built and all that stuff is gone. And I just felt weak in that moment. And that feeling lasted about 15, 20 seconds. And something came over me. I chilled out. I didn't have to go, okay, Joseph, chilled. I automatically chilled out. And I stopped and took some deep breaths, and the sheriff was talking, and he started asking me some questions. And make a very long story short, because in that moment, because I automatically go through, I didn't have to go, okay, Joseph, chill, okay, look around. I didn't have to do that. It happens automatically. I was able to tell the sheriff something and some things, and I didn't get all my stuff back, but a couple months later, I got a great deal of my things back. And I'm not saying that, that I'm happy those other things are gone. I'm just telling you what happened to me. And I can tell you hundreds of stories of not just about me, but about other people as well. Because remember, like I said before, I don't teach theory. What I tell you is what I've taught other people as well, and they've gotten results as well. And so let's go over it again. And remember, the outcome for this whole thing is not just you have this knowledge, but it's something that you can do. And I'm going to give you your assignment, if you will. C, the first thing is chill. Chill out. Stop and take a deep breath. Sometimes just physically step back for a second, okay? Now, by the way, you might be saying, okay, Joseph, sometimes I don't have time to do that. And you're absolutely right. Sometimes it is important to respond very, very quickly. But it's still, you're going to be better responding from a more centered place than from a frantic place. You'll know, your body's going to go into fight or flight, and you'll know in that moment. But this is something for you to practice. I'm going to give you something so it happens automatically, okay? So remember, our outcome is to not only get you to feel better in the moment and do something about it in the moment, but to be able to anticipate it as well, and your body and your brain work in concert, and you start to let's just say respond in the same way. So the first thing is to chill. Second thing is to look around, observe. Look around at everything. Next is to evaluate. Evaluate what's really going on. Evaluate what could, should, would I do. Ask yourself those questions. All right, what would I do? Okay, what's the best thing to do? And you ask those questions because your brain is designed to answer those questions. When you answer those questions, then you got to act. You got to take some action. And even if it is, in that moment, stand up and walk around, get that blood flowing going on. And oftentimes, just the walking around and doing that, your brain will come up with the answer. And to recognize, remember, I didn't say this all the way at the top, realize it's just part of the process. It's part of growing. It's part of learning. It's part of you getting better. There's not one successful person, including you, that hasn't gone through challenges, and you're always going to. And the last thing is to reward yourself. Pat yourself on the back. Clear, C-L-E-A-R. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to, first off, if you got those notes, I want you to practice it, okay? I want you to think about and make a list of all the problems you got in your life that are going on right now. What's going on in the world or whatever. And then as they show, you say, okay, well, there's this. Okay, stop. Take a deep breath. Relax yourself for something. Look around, evaluate. Just do the process. Make a list of any problems, any challenges that are going on. I'm not saying you get to solve all of them right there, but here's what happens. And this more times than I can possibly imagine or tell you, is sometimes after I've done something, there's a problem going on, there's a problem happening in my life or something going on, and I chill, I go through this process, I take it, I walk around, and I don't get the solution right then and there. But guess what? The next day and a half, something comes up and it happens. Lastly, I want to tell you a real quick story, true story. Napoleon Hill, one of my favorite authors of the greatest book of all times in terms of personal development. He wrote Think and Grow Rich. I remember hearing him, he did a recording many years ago, and he said, the day that I was to turn in the manuscript for the book, I didn't know what I was going to call the book. I had no title for the book. And remember, this is the most famous book of all time with regard to personal development, Think and Grow Rich. And what he said was, I decided to go to sleep. He went to sleep and he said, in the morning, I'm going to come up with the solution. And he went to sleep. And the next morning, he said, my eyes opened up and I looked around and I thought to myself, think and grow rich. And boom, that was it. Now, did he physically go through all of those? Did he know he was doing all those steps? Probably not. But he did know that what happens with human mechanics, what happens with the human brain is when you let it go, you have to send it out there, it's going to come back to you. So practice these things, rehearse these things, use them, and watch yourself grow. And then lastly, I'm going to tell you I have a free book for you that outlines a lot of the stuff that I talk about called Dare to Be Magnificent. Click on the link below. It's yours for free. I want you to have it. There's some exercises. It's not just a great book to read. There's things in there because my whole thing all the time is to give you tools and strategies and processes that you can use that are going to enhance your life and make it automatic for you. And also, please subscribe, click the notification bell, and remember, life is exactly what you dare to make it, and fortune favors the bold. So the trick is to boldly step up and dare to make your life magnificent. I look forward to seeing you at the top. I'm out.